Okay, a very good afternoon, parents and our young innovators. Welcome to the School of Science and Technology inaugural HEX Lunch with the SST FAM webinar series. I'm Johari, Senior Teacher in SST and your host for this series. HEX Lunch with the SST FAM is a three-part webinar series and a novel way to discover more about SST. Our principal, Mrs. Linda Chan, will first share more about the school, and later we will invite panelists to share their personal insights on the school as well as their own aspirations. Now, over to you, Mrs. Chan.
Right. Thank you, Johari. Good afternoon, parents and budding passionate innovators. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. In the lead up to our admissions exercise, we have received a number of queries from you. I hope our webinars today will help you understand the philosophy of SST to better make sense of what you see in our digital platforms and to also clarify some of the questions that you may have. Indeed, as Johari said, this is the first time we are connecting with potential students and parents through such a format. We seek your patience and understanding for any issues that you may face. So, what is SST's mission? In 2008, when then Education Minister Tharman announced the setup of SST at Parliament, he explicitly stated that SST's mission is to nurture students with inventive minds, people who will keep looking for a different way of doing things. Guided by this mandate, SST has over the past 10 years been working towards nurturing our students to be the passionate innovators who improve society through real-world applications of science and technology. So, how do we then nurture our students to be that passionate innovator for the future workforce? It is very important to look at the skills that our children must possess for them to be successful in a VUCA world, right? A volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. In a world where automation may replace many aspects of occupations. Now, in this slide, I've shown a study done by McKinsey. Here, McKinsey identified the critical skills that cannot be easily replaced by machines. Indeed, I think we have already seen machines outperforming humans in areas like information retrieval, optimizing, and planning. However, the study noted that it will take some years before machines can perform at the same level of humans in areas like creativity and problem solving. Indeed, computer creativity for now requires human involvement to judge the quality of work or to provide direction. Hence, these are the skills that the future workforce, our children, would need. Allow me to cite another research by Google. Here, they identified 8 characteristics of their top performing employees. I'm just going to list some of these characteristics. And these include being able to take multiple perspectives, showing empathy for colleagues, having critical thinking and problem solving, and the ability to see patterns and to make connections. Amongst the skills that I've listed, don't they sound similar to those that is shown in the McKinsey report? Indeed, these are the skills that are not easily replaced by automation. And that is the backdrop against which in SST, right, we do strive to develop in our students some of these critical skills that would really put them in good state in the future workforce. However, these critical skills, often people call them the soft skills, or some refer to this as the 21st century skills. And these skills cannot be easily developed through the traditional teacher-fronted classrooms. For deep learning to take place, the knowledge has to be applied and tested in a real-world and problem-solving situation. And indeed, SST's applied learning approach is premised on these 6 facets listed on the slide. Allow me to deviate to the picture, the photo in the middle. Now, this is a picture taken when our students conducted and filmed an interview with Professor Pauline Strong, the Dean of Students in Singapore Management University. And incidentally, she's also a member of SST's Board of Directors. What were the students doing? They were tasked to produce a video snippet for an e-book commemorating the National Integration Council 10th anniversary. Through this task, while they put their video production skills to the test, and in a very authentic context, they also get the opportunity to listen to the views and perspective of others. And that's a very important aspect of critical thinking. So that sums up an example of what SST's applied learning approach is. On that note, what then is the SST's curriculum? I think you are aware that SST is a secondary school with the GCE O-level certification. In other words, our students will offer O-level subjects like the humanities, the languages, the mathematics, and the sciences at the upper secondary level. What it means is that we will cover the same content, but the approach in which we teach will be different. We will adopt the applied learning approach as I've shared in my previous slide. Being a school with a focus on science and technology, all our students are therefore required to offer both mathematics, in other words, the A as well as E-Math, and 2 pure sciences. In addition, they have to offer an applied subject, and this includes electronics, computing, biotechnology, and design studies. These applied subjects are O-level subjects and can be counted towards the L1 R5 computation for progression to the next educational stage. Amongst the 4 applied subjects, computing and electronics are also offered to a small group of students in some schools. However, biotechnology and design studies are offered solely at SST. What about the lower secondary levels? At the lower secondary levels, our students are offered a uniquely SST program. We call it the Changemaker program. Within the Changemaker program, it incorporates subjects like art, design, media and technology, ICT, right, information, communications and technology, as well as I&E on innovation and entrepreneurship. Do look up for more information on our Changemaker program in our digital flat platform. So these are the curriculum that our students will be offering. Along the way, you might have heard people saying that SST is a one-to-one school. Right? You may be wondering what that means. This means that all our students will learn using their personal learning device. Right? We call it a personal learning device because that's a device for learning, right? But that's what most of you would have referred to as a laptop. Let me now use this illustration to show how we leverage on technology in the teaching of Sec 2 geography. Here in SST, we do not rely on the textbook. Instead, the students are required to produce an iBook as part of their performance task for their geography module. To strengthen their understanding of theoretical concepts, students will need to identify examples that illustrates the concept and capture them in their iBooks. Students can choose any real-world observations, right, that speaks to them or things that they might have experienced, and also make use of different modes such as video or sound bites, right, so as to appeal to their different senses. So in the creation of the iBooks, they not only deepen their knowledge and skill in the subject, they also develop soft skills like collaboration and creativity. So that's how we leverage technology as an example in the teaching of geography. Some questions that parents have asked us are, having heard some of the programs, are these programs only for a selected number of students? Well, in SST, we believe that every student has a talent that can be nurtured, developed, and sustained. Really, at the age of 12 or 13, not every student may know his passion or his area of talent. It is our responsibility to help them uncover it. To do so, we conduct cohort-wide programs across different domains. And these programs are designed to raise students' awareness of the different areas and hopefully to help them uncover their area of passion and interest, as well as their strength. Some examples of our cohort-wide programs include the overseas learning experiences that all our Sec 1s go through. Our Sec 1 goes through, and the Sec 2 will go through the investigative skills in science module. Our Sec 3 will go to the Outward Bound Singapore camp, and our Sec 4 will experience the Discover program. Again, all these programs are shared on our various digital platforms. Do look out for them to find out more information about what each of these programs entail. Students who uncover their areas of interest, right, from participating in the cohort-wide program can then now pursue those areas at a deeper level. So through the participation in the cohort-wide program, they may find their own interests and they may want to now find out a little bit more about these areas. So how do we do so in SST to further develop them? Basically, we adopt the Donald Treffinger's levels of service as our talent development framework. So I'm going to use our technology talent development program to illustrate how the levels of service worked. As shared earlier, we have cohort-wide program. Changemaker program is one of them. Within the Changemaker program, all our students are taught ICT skills, which includes some games creation and programming. This is considered our level 1 program, right? It is for all, so this is a level 1 program. Through participation in the program, some students then find it interesting, games creation, maybe it is for me, and they are now keen to explore more. Then they can now sign up for optional enrichment program. So perhaps they can now find out about Android app programming, or people who are more interested in cybersecurity may sign up for cybersecurity application workshops. These are optional enrichment programs. And by participating in all this enrichment program, they continue to deepen their knowledge and skills and confirm whether these are areas of their interest. Indeed, some of the students will begin to discover that, this is really an area that I'm passionate about and that maybe they have some talent in it and they want to further deepen it. And when we identify that they have certain talent in that, we may now invite the students who are talented in those areas to participate in our level 3 programs. One of which is a trip to San Francisco, Silicon Valley, right? A way to further inspire them, to further deepen their talents in their area of strength. A few students would have developed very deep skills and now are able to take on projects with the larger community. By that, I mean beyond school. And one example is our students who are involved in developing an app for KKH Hospital. This particular app that was developed for KKH Hospital has enabled the anesthetists in the hospital to calculate the amount of drugs to be administered. It also comes with a step-by-step accident and emergency operations procedures and guidelines. For their efforts, our students were acknowledged during the hospital's Singapore's anesthesia's refreshers course. Having shared about our students' experience through the Technology Talent Development Program, some of you may now be thinking, after having gone through all this education in SST, where do our students progress to? Our students with the O-level certification can progress to either the A-level, the IB program, or even to pursue a poly diploma. Over the past 10 years, about 90% of our students are eligible to the JCs, while all are able to proceed to the polytechnic. However, by choice, about 45% will eventually pursue a poly diploma, while 55% will pursue the A-level or IB. What is notable is that whichever path they have taken, they have done well. These students have found their area of passion through the various programs provided by SST. They then choose the path that match their interests and strength. And these, I believe, has enabled them to blossom further, setting them up for success, whichever path they have taken. I'm sure you will agree with me that with passion, one can go much further. On this same note, I would like to encourage all our potential students to be true to your own interests and strength and choose the school that will provide you with the best match. There is indeed no best school, but the one with the best fit. If you are interested in science and technology and like to work on performance tasks or projects in a team, and these are all very important components in our applied learning, then SST is potentially a school for you. SST is also an independent school, but I would like to highlight that no deserving student will be left behind. We have a range of scholarships and bursaries for our Singaporean citizens. On the next slide, on this slide, please scan the QR code there to find out more information about the scholarship as well as financial support that is available. With that brief introduction to the school, allow me to now briefly run through the admissions process. I think many parents have written in to us for some clarity about the admissions process given the COVID-19 situation. As announced by the Ministry of Education, we will be conducting our direct school admission through an online platform this year. So the very first step requires you to apply via the MOE centralized DSA portal. And these you can access using their parents' SingPass. Please note that the application phase will close at 3 p.m. on the 5th of June next week. Once this is submitted, SST will look through a whole basket of criteria and shortlist candidates to participate in a phase 1 e-quiz. This will be conducted in their child's respective primary school in the last week of June. After going through phase 1, we will assess the performance of the e-quiz together with all the other information that we gathered from your submission. We will further shortlist candidates for the next round, a phase 2 e-selection camp. And this phase 2 camp will be held from end July to end of August. Again, all conducted in the comfort of the primary school. With all of this information gathered, we will eventually identify the students and issue students with either a confirmed offer or a waitlist offer. The application outcome will be released on the 14th of September. On that note, I end my presentation. Really thank you for taking time off your lunch to join me to listen to my introduction. While I may end my introduction, but our conversation will continue. We will be having the webinar next. You may ask your questions using this QR code. Together with my teachers, past and present SST students, we will be discussing how we nurture our future passionate innovators at SST, and of course, to answer some of your questions. With that, thank you. Back over to you, Johari.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Chan, for the insightful sharing. Well, indeed, 10 years is no mean feat for a specialized independent school that offers a distinctive 4-year GCE O-level program with an integrated approach to applied learning. Our next segment is the panel discussion. For those who just joined us, HECS Lunch with the SST FAM is a 3-part webinar series. This series will be hosted on our YouTube channel. Do subscribe here via the description box below, youtube.com/SST Singapore, and turn on the notification button to be notified when we go live. For those who have missed Mrs. Chan's sharing just now, please look for the videos posting after the end of this session. These webinars will include themes on technology, engineering, and alternative pathways. Today's discussion, we will center on technology, the need to nurture technologies and how is done in SST. Well, this afternoon, in the panel, we have with us Mrs. Chan, Mrs. Principal of SST, Mr. Aurelius Yeo, Head of Education Technology, Raven Koh from the SST batch 2016. Raven graduated from Ngee Ann Poly with a diploma in Information Security and Forensics. He's the winner of Ngee Ann Gold Medalist 2020 and the recipient of Lee Kuan Yew Award in the same year, as well as recipient of SUTD Technology Entrepreneurship Program. It's under the scholarship program. Apart from that, we also privileged to have with us Nimalan from the same batch, 2016. He graduated with diploma merit in aerospace electronics from Temasek Polytechnic. He's the winner of Gold Medalist 2019 and CapitaLand Award for All-Round Excellence recipient. He will be enrolling in NTU under a program called Aerospace Engineering Scholarship. Last but not least, we have Gwendolyn, our Sec 3 current student. She is actually doing Computing Plus course. Okay, so welcome on board everyone in the panel. Okay, so let me open with this quote. Computer technology has been the key driving force behind much of the changes witnessed in many aspects of our life. And computing has become so entrenched in the fields of science, technologies, engineering, and mathematics, essentially STEM, and that it has transformed the very practices of those disciplines. I'm directing this question to Mr. Aurelius Yeo. How has SST actually developed its curriculum to meet such demand? Mr. Yeo, can you provide some insights on this, please?
Okay, we in SST we understand that that technology is changing, and of course, because of that, we are constantly on that external scan to look at what is new, what is really important for us to prepare our students for the future. So when we talk about the whole curriculum, we are saying that even in the lower secondary, we prepare students to look at how they can be equipped with the basics of coding, with the basics of even making. So when we talk about making, we are looking at programming with electronics. We're talking about Arduino or customized Arduino. We call it SSTuino, which we use in our curriculum. So with the basics of coding and making, we are talking about even when they go to upper secondary, what other things can we do to actually extend our students' learning? So as mentioned by Johari earlier on, Computing Plus is one of the particular aspects that we want to groom our students in. So what is Computing Plus? Computing Plus basically is the computing syllabus offered at O levels, and over and above that in SST, because we know that in lower secondary, our students are prepared, our students are being equipped and stretched, in the basics of Python. And because of that, we are looking at how can we extend their learning further. So when we talk about extending their learning further, one of the key flavors of Computing Plus is to get our students to really apply their learning to come up with this particular component or coursework whereby they will put their knowledge to application to develop applications that will actually solve real-world problems. So this is one of the aspects of Computing Plus. The other aspect of Computing Plus is we recognize that as we look at this new phase of technology, we are looking at how we can talk about optimization. And with optimization, we are looking at how we can incorporate artificial intelligence and the ability for machine to have machine learning, so that everything that we do, it need not be just dependent on humans to get the optimized level. So this is another elective that is that's offered within Computing Plus. And the third part, the third special thing about Computing Plus is these other aspects of ethical hacking and cybersecurity. This is an optional elective within Computing Plus, because bearing in mind in SST, we also offer something that is known as Engineering Plus. So engineering plus in this whole aspect of technology means that our students will not just be trained in electronics engineering, but they will also be trained in computing. So for this particular group of students, we are saying that when it comes to cyber security and ethical hacking, this might be an optional module for them. Whereas for students who are taking computing plus, this might be something that they are more interested to look into. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Aurelius. Right. How the education scene landscape has evolved so much. Now they have engineering plus, and I only did the engineering in university. Well, talking about SST programming, right? As a recipient, the recipient end of this program is actually Raven. So, Raven, may I ask you, right? How has SST nurtured the technologies in you through the various programs?
I think the biggest part of how SST has nurtured me is in my ability to learn by myself and be an independent learner. Because when I went to SST, I really didn't know how to do much on a computer. I had to ask I remember I had to ask my father to help me download a file on my computer, and I couldn't figure out how to run it even. But I think through SST, like with our learning devices and with this like encouraging environment of where everyone wants to learn, I think that it slowly cultivated a sort of independent learning for me. Over time I realized that a lot of things I could find on the internet, I could ask my peers, I could ask people who had done it before, approach my seniors even, and I sort of developed this tendency to be very curious and to want to learn things on my own. And I think when you take that learning spirit and apply it to technology, it really improves. It makes you learn very fast, and I think that's how it has like nurtured the technologies in me.
Well, that's very interesting. When I look at the course that you'll be taking in SUED, right? Technology Entrepreneurship Program. That is another dimension, right? You have added the entrepreneurship in you. So what drives that passion? Especially the entrepreneurship part.
Okay. So in SST, I joined this interest group. We call ourselves SST Inc. In fact, Nimlan was one of the members as well. And I think what we did during this interest group was that SST Inc. ran itself like a sort of an incubator. And within SST Inc., our members form little groups that we like to call like startups or companies. And we would run ourselves like one, where we build apps together. We would like do our project management. We would have we put titles on ourselves, and it's quite funny. Like I was the CTO, or I was like my friend was the CEO or something, and we did well. I think we released one app together with my first company, and then eventually I moved on to take leadership in SST Inc., and we built another app for KKH. And I think that I had a lot of fun doing that, just like working with my team to create something that can help the community. And I think that that has carried on towards with me in Poly, and eventually I hope to do so in uni as well at the next level. So yeah.
Wow, you really like think ahead, right? Especially with the foundation provided by SST. Okay, talking about the company, that will be later. Before that, let me channel our attention to Nimalan. Nimalan, Raven mentioned that you were also in SST Inc. Can you tell me about your involvement and what exactly is this talent development program about from your perspective?
All right. SST Inc. is actually ICT talent development program where you get to learn a lot about technologies and wide aspects of technologies. So you get to learn programming, then you get to learn about how industries work and how you use your programming skills to help improve lives and the community as well. So SST Inc. really during back in my time, we learned like Objective-C and C++. And using our iOS programming skills, like me and Raven, we developed the Texagon SST Tau game, back then Piano Tiles was quite popular, so it was we made this game and it was enjoyed by many people as well. So it was quite an interesting experience. And not only that, we also got to go San Francisco. So we got to learn a lot about the IT industry, and this is something very important to know, because in the future, IT is very significant right now, and it is important to have these skills. So SST Inc. was quite an eye-opening experience for me.
Wow, that's interesting. Mentioned went to San Francisco. Raven mentioned that he actually started with no basic background, and then he has this discovery spirit. There's a question from one parents, which I hope, Nimalan, you can enlighten us. So, if students have no strong computing or computing background, will the student be disadvantaged in SST? What is your perspective on this?
Okay, let me tell about my perspective when I was in SST. I wasn't, during that time, I wasn't even knowledgeable in programming and computing. I have no idea about it actually. So it was, when I joined SST Inc., right, it was really new for me, and actually you won't be disadvantaged. You will start at the same time, and you will slowly learn and nurture these skills as time goes on. So everyone will be taught very well. So there's no need to be worried there will be a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's interesting. Okay, now talk. Okay, Gwendolyn. Okay, you are in Sec 3. Last year, you have the choice, right? Because to choose one applied subject. Because in SST, as mentioned by Mrs. Chan, we offer applied subjects to cover different interests. And these are recognized in JC and also in Polytechnic. And the applied subjects are biotechnology, computing, design studies, and electronics. So, Gwendolyn, back to you. So it must be a difficult task, right, for you to choose. So what made you pursue Computing Plus instead?
Yeah, it was pretty difficult for me to choose. I was actually considering two different options, either biotechnology or computing. And like both, I really wanted to join the both of them, but I chose computing because, for one, because of all the technology advancements now in the world, computing is going to become more and more of an important role in society, and we're going to need to be more prepared in a sense for computing. And I felt that I have the passion and the want to learn for programming, to learn how to make things, to learn how to use what I know, and help other people in terms of technology lah. So like, for example, programming and coding and building of apps. So because I felt that passion in me, that's why I chose computing over the rest of them. Yeah.
Okay, very interesting. So all of you been talking about technology. I heard something about your CCA, right? Can you tell me what's your CCA, Gwendolyn?
I'm from show choir, from dance crew.
Well, that's very interesting. You are technologists, you are going through that line, and yet you also show the passion in the arts. So tell us more about this passion of yours in show choir.
Other than liking technology as well, I also have a passion for dancing and for music. So that's why I chose show choir. In fact, I was very wowed by the show choir performance, and that's one of the main reasons why I joined show choir in Sec 1. But this goes to show that in SST, not only are we built to be technological innovators and global innovators that will help change society in the future, but it also prepares us to be a diverse learner and to have passions for everything. It doesn't exclude our passions for other things, our hobbies that we have as well. So yeah, that's why I joined show choir.
Wow, interesting. Okay, before we continue, just for the benefit of those who just joined us, Hacks Lunch with the SST Fam is a 3-part webinar series. This series will be hosted on our YouTube channel. Okay, now back to you, the question. Gwendolyn question is that why do you choose to go to Singapore to Polytechnic after SST?
All right. Actually, for me, it was during SST that I developed this passion in aerospace, because my CCA was Singapore Youth Flying Club. So during this time, I got a lot of opportunities from SST to join in competitions, and I got to learn about different polytechnics offering aerospace courses. So it was during this time, this was when I decided I want to continue my passion in aerospace and have a career in aerospace research. So that's why I joined Temasek Poly Aerospace to continue my whatever I like to do.
Oh, that's very interesting. So the CA that you chose in SST was what again? Singapore Youth Flying Club.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Now back to Raven. You have a different CCA, right? I understand. Okay, but the thing is this, from SST to now, let's go back to the Gwendolyn's question, right? The adjustment from SST to Polytechnic. What's in your view actually you are able to manage life in Polytechnic?
I think that managing life in Polytechnic, it's I think for me it was more about like, because I personally am a applied learner. Like after going through SST, I feel that like when I try to learn something new, I tend to just dive into it first and figure everything out by just trying and doing experiments, and then later on learning the theory behind it. So with that being my learning style, I decided to go to Poly, which fit that learning style more. And during Poly, I think that having a curious attitude, and also this kind of like head first dive in kind of learning style, really helped me. And and learning something that I'm interested in as well, also helped me keep up with the schoolwork and manage my time. However, I think that everyone has a different learning style. Like that this is me. I am an applied learner. But I think that everyone has a different learning style, and depending on your learning style and your passion, or whether you're sure or unsure of what you want to do, going to Polytechnic or JC like the choice is really dependent on you in terms of like your learning style and what suits you better, and also whether you want whether like what do you feel would better like suit your learning style. So so for me, I chose Poly. Yeah.
Okay, I also understand, right? We also have a huge proportion of SSC students who went to pursue their studies in GC or the IB program, right? You know anyone or not who also dwell in technology or in this area, having gone through the GC routes actually?
Yeah. So one of my seniors, his name is Raghu. I think he's like 2 years my senior. He actually he went to Hwa Chong institute Hwa Chong JC or institution like after SST. And right now, like during his time at Hwa Chong and after that as well, he and a few friends from Hwa Chong, he continued to pursue his passion in cybersecurity at Hwa Chong, and he built like he and his friends became one of the strongest competitive cybersecurity teams in Singapore. And I think that in fact he was one of my inspirations for joining cybersecurity in the first place. So you can see that like despite our two different routes, me going through cybersecurity in Poly and Raghu going through cybersecurity like Hwa Chong, I think Hwa Chong's A levels, we still end up going on the same path and pursuing our passions, which I think is really really nice lah. Yeah. So
wow, that's nice to hear. Okay, so much have been we have talked so much on technology, right? I'm sure many of the parents will be wondering, right, what kind of infrastructure and support the school actually have. Especially, you know, we sometimes you do hear about the adverse things with the use of technology, gaming, cyberbullying, and so on. So I want to direct this question to Mrs. Chan, okay, about support not only for the students but for the parents as well when it comes to the pervasive use of technology.
All right, thanks, Joel. I think besides just that part, I think there were a number of questions that talking about how do we strike the balance between physical activity, meaning, pen and paper, perhaps, as well as use of technology, the whole thing. So can I first frame it that in SST, it doesn't mean there's no pen and paper, that we only use the technology. It is really about striking a balance and leveraging technology where technology can do things that perhaps pen and paper may not be the best suitable thing. So I want to assure that, all right, we all hold pens and we all have papers. We do still have books. In fact, for one, early morning when we report to school, the first thing every child needs to do is to sit down and to read a book. You can't read using your phone or anything else. We have made it very clear that reading period, you must read a physical book. So we do want to strike that balance, all right? So that's just to allay the general understanding first. Well, with the use of technology, of course, the question that a lot of us ask is that, could students end up misusing the technology? Could they then spend too much, an inordinate amount of time on your devices, all right? First question I have is this. Beyond the learning device that, every child in SST has, all right, I can't see a response for parents, but this is a question, I just throw it out. How many of you have given your child access to a phone? All right, so the question is, it may not be just the learning device, it is also phone. It is about all types of technological devices. How do we then manage the child in the use of it? We need to strike that balance. And so here in SST, be it the learning device or the laptop that the students have, or phones and everything else, the important thing is that we have certain baseline guide, right? And this is something whereby school will put in place certain things, but it has to be done together with the family. So for a start, when a child first enters SST, the first thing before they receive the learning device, all right, from their parents is that they have to sign this thing called an acceptor user policy. So AUP that they have to sign, all right, they will have rules and regulations. What are the types of users, what it can be used. And that's explicitly why we don't call the device a laptop in SST. We call it a learning device. It is not for you to use it for anything else, but for your learning, right? So of course, we can put in tools to manage. Parents can put in tools and you can still control how much access. It is about the timing. Right, so that's just at the policy level, some of the things that we do. The other thing that we do is that because technology is going to be part and parcel of our life, you can't, it is part and parcel of our life, you can't avoid it, right? How far are we going to say that our child can't have access? So the important thing is to teach them how to use it well. So other than the policy, we also have cyber wellness. And in fact, if I'm not wrong, I think Raven himself is a cyber wellness ambassador in SST. Maybe later on he can add in a little bit about what he does. But we train our students to be cyber wellness ambassadors, and they actually also help us navigate the ground, advising one another on what are the things that you should be using and what are the things that you should not be doing. Right? And on top of that, because I said it is a family, school, child, tripartite relationship, we need to get parents involved too. Part of the duty for my cyber wellness ambassador is that they will do the training for parents, right? And the training is not done by us because we all know our fingers never move as fast as the kids. So what's best way is for parents to attend the very first one. And usually at our Set 1 parents will invite all the Set 1 parents to come so that you learn how to navigate and how to work together with the school in managing your child's usage of devices. So in GIST, I think there are many different aspects. I think this is something that we can't run away. We have to teach the child to manage. Parents also have to step in to monitor because they are, after all, 12, 13, 14. I mean, it is still in their formative years. Yes, they are growing up. Like flying a kite, we need to hold tight at times, let go at other times to do this. So I hope I, in a very roundabout way, have shared a whole range of different strategies that we do to try to manage. And all this does not mean we only do technology and nothing else. All right, maybe Raven wants to step in. Raven, you want to share as a cyber wellness ambassador, what are some things that you did?
Sure. So every year, when I was there in secondary 2, SST organized this program called the Cyber Wellness Ambassador Program, and I was one of the facilitators that taught a class of, I think, students to help to manage their online presence and conduct themselves in a good way online. I think I have the reason I became a cyber wellness ambassador. There's also quite a personal reason. It's because I think one of my, in SST we had we have a Facebook group up for all the students, and one of my friends did not conduct himself well online, and ended up being denied a huge opportunity to because he did some things that were not so good online. And I feel that it wasn't really him being a bad person, but was that he didn't understand sort of cyber wellness and just conducting himself, having a healthy online presence. So I decided to join as a facilitator, and also conducted a workshop for parents and to teach them to sort of share what I know about cyber wellness and how to conduct yourself online. And because as Mrs. Chan said, everyone is going to be exposed to technology in the future. There's no escaping it. So I feel that we should, as much as possible, we should take this opportunity to learn about cyber wellness, learn about cyber security, and keeping secure online, keeping safe online, as early as possible. And it's everyone's responsibility, and not
Very good. As a teacher, I'm heartened by your response. It's about responsibility and it's about respect. Okay, something that we hold very dearly. And talk about this, the SST approach to cyber wellness is by peer for peer. So in fact, some of the programs crafted and designed by the students and conducted by the students. So this is a very unique approach, because only the students will be able to understand better and carry the message, and publicize the message to their peers. And talking about technology, now we are in a very we are in a situation with the COVID-19 whereby home-based learning is very prevalent. But maybe Lynn, can you share your learning in this period? Your home-based learning experience?
For most schools, right, if I'm not wrong, home-based learning is usually SLS packages, and they rarely have actual actual meetings with their teachers face to face live. So I feel that since SST does this where we continue to follow our timetable, and we follow it live with our teachers, and the fact that we Google Meet our teachers online and we continue to learn, is something that I feel is very special to SST, because not only is learning not hindered, we are also able to apply various aspects of problem solving, especially considering this situation right now. For example, since we cannot submit physical homework, we are tasked to learn different ways, scan our homework possibly, or maybe do it online and submit it to the teacher. So it makes us ready on our feet to a certain extent. It makes us ready for problems in the future, and it teaches us that no matter the situation, we can overcome it with what we have. And since SST is such a technology-based school, to be able to continue lessons with little to no hindrance in our learning, it's very special. Yes.
Okay. Earlier you did mention to me that about the performance task, right, that you have to do online. Can you explain, right, what is performance task that is so prevalent in SST? And maybe perhaps you can share one or two that you're very familiar with.
So, in terms of performance tasks, it's basically a project-based assessment. It's a weighted assessment, but it's project-based, which is very unlike our usual pen-written exams. And usually, performance tasks, we work in groups to do projects to solve certain problems, and every single subject has a performance task, and it contributes to a certain amount in our final grade as well. So this shows that in SST, being able to study is only one part and one section of your learning, and being able to apply that learning to solve problems and to work with others, to collaborate with others, is also another part. And that's why performance tasks are one very important part of our learning as well. So I have one favorite performance task that we did this year, and it was really exciting. It was the mousetrap car, and it's a physics performance task. We were supposed to use a mousetrap and build a car, but one of the things that made it very memorable is actually this COVID-19 situation. Because of the COVID-19 situation, a lot of our learning and all had to be moved to HBL. So our performance task was during this period of time, and one of the problems we faced is that we were rushed to finish our prototype, finish our mousetrap car before HBL started, and to test it and run it as well. So one of the problems we faced was getting the materials and building it in time. But this made us realize that through all the challenges that we face, through all the unexpected things that may happen, we still have to get through it, and we still have to learn. So that's something that this performance task has taught me. Yes.
Wow.
Can I jump in
Okay.
at this point, Mr. Johari? I jump in at
Yes.
this point because I noted some parents asking a question about performance tasks. I think the idea was, if we do so much project, how do we then prepare our children for O-level? I thought, hey, this is apt time to bring this in. And perhaps, maybe I highlight a bit, and then any of the students, maybe Raven or Nimalan may want to jump in, right? Performance task is different from just a normal project in the sense that it must focus on a concept. Okay, it is tied very tightly to the subject discipline. And it means that you actually have to understand the concept first before you can actually build your prototype and make it to work. So Gwendolyn was sharing about the performance task on the mousetrap car. Actually, that is to cover the topic of energy. So they talk about kinetic energy and a bit about forces. So it's actually a combination of many topics. Instead of it being a standalone, which in real life, many things are always, you need to consider different factors come into play. Ultimately, did they then learn their content and learn their content perhaps even better? And that the knowledge, actually, I think, well, generally, if I do it, it will stay with me much longer than just, a paper exercise. And these are the type of questions that will still be asked in the O-level. In fact, in recent years, maybe not so recent anymore, for the last couple of years, the question types have already changed to very much applied. It is about understanding the various things, right? Mr. Johari happened to be a mathematics teacher, right? In the past, they asked you to calculate mode, mean, median. That's about it. Now they will ask questions like, why was mode chosen? Why was mode a better average way for this particular thing? And it might differ in a different circumstance. You may learn different statistical graph. Why is that this particular statistical graph being chosen, right, for this particular situation? So it is about choosing the right tool and using it. It is no longer about, hey, I know how to calculate my mode, my mean, and my median, right? So we have designed our performance task very deliberately, and that is to reinforce your content, and indirectly you are actually preparing yourself with the knowledge and skills that's necessary for the O-level and beyond. Raven, Nimala, do you want to add in anything about whether by performance task, how are you prepared for your O-level as well?
Yep. So I think one of my most memorable performance tasks was also the mousetrap car. It's something SST has had for a long time, and I hope they don't change it anytime soon because it was really, really fun. Of course, I didn't have the time constraints that Gwendolyn had because no COVID then. But I think one of my other most memorable experiences was a chemistry performance task where we had to design a water filter, and one of my classmates, their team managed to filter the water that was so clean that they ended up drinking the water afterwards. And yes, they're still alive and well. So and with regards to how it directly contributes to O levels, I think that I remember during my physics O levels, one of the questions related to forces came about, and because like when I saw the question, I immediately thought, hey, this is directly related to that mousetrap car thing. And because we spent such a long time trying to perfect our car to race against our friends, I can tell you, I really thoroughly understood the concepts that went behind it, and I was able to answer the question extremely well. Simply because I built this little device that that just drove forward, and as well as chemistry, it makes the performance tasks makes the concepts very memorable, and they help me. They definitely help me in my exams.
Right.
Also,
All right, Joe, maybe can I step in, because I also saw a lot of questions about DSA. Before I give time back to the rest, I think a lot of our parents are quite anxious about the DSA process. I think I've highlighted the different phases, and I think many of the parents maybe have seen the SST's open house previously and are quite aware that previously our written test of phase 1 is open to all. This time round, I mentioned something about it being to we would shortlist. All right. Given the E-mode, I think we have a bit more challenges trying to manage it. But seriously, whether it is with the E-mode or otherwise, we still will open up the phase 1 E-test, E-quiz to a very large proportion. Just to give you a sense of numbers, typically we have about 1,000 plus applicants, and we do the written test for all 1,000. But we do know that there are some students that usually will not be able to make it, and the people who may not be able to have access to this ability to do so. So what we're going to do for our e-quiz is that we will most likely shortlist a good 80%. So basically, majority will go through phase 1 still. Okay, it is not meant for us to remove candidates. And back to the question that everybody asked, so what do I consider to shortlist the candidates for the e-quiz? I said a basket of criteria, and I indeed meant a basket of criteria. Do you need to submit a portfolio? All right, so let me go back to the MOE centralized portal. In there, right, once you key in, all your results and so on will pop over directly to us. So yes, we will have access to all your results, and we will consider them. I think it is only fair to say that we do look at the results, but it is not the only factor, the only criteria. Right? We do look at the results. And to be fair, because our focus is very much on math and science, if you are not able to even pass your mathematics, then I think you may find it a very, very big struggle coming into SST. You don't need to be your top scorer, but you must have a certain ability to be able to manage mathematics. And in SST, all our students have to offer both A and E math, for example. So we do look at particularly the math and science results, but it is not the only criteria that we look at. So we will select the majority to go into the e-quiz. Then a lot of questions were, how do I then prepare my child for the e-quiz? The question is this, right? I've shared in my presentation earlier that really there is no best school. It is about the best fit. And let's not over-prepare the kids. My assurance to all of you is that our e-quiz will test on their primary school content knowledge, right? That is not something that we want to go beyond. But how they're going to access it, right? We will have our own questions, and that will pick up students with a certain natural inclination that will fit our way of learning. So the point I have is this. there is really no need to prepare. Whatever they have learned in primary school is sufficient for them to be able to do this. Let the natural inclination come through so that if they are suitable for the school, they will be selected and they will come in, and they will then be able, because it's a match, they will be able to progress much further. All right. And beyond that, in terms of the e-quiz, we go into phase 2. Phase 2, again, number of questions about what is phase 2 going to be like. Is there going to be group work? Is it going to be a big panel of interviewer? Well, let's put it this way. There will be some tasks for them to do. And chances are that we will have a group, although a very much smaller group, but not not physically in contact, because with COVID, right, the physical distancing is still something that we have to abide by. So yes, there might be more than a student involved in each round, but it is not face-to-face. It is through the e-mode. There will be a panel of interviewer who will go through the tasks that they have to do as well as to do the interview. So the bottom line is this. Our selection processes is put in place for us to identify certain attributes that the child has. Okay, and I may just so that they are best suited to learn in this environment. And by that, it doesn't mean content knowledge alone. Okay, like Nimalan and Raven, I think they shared about how when they first came in, they know nothing very much about technology. All right, but I think they are open to various ways of learning, and that we know that they will be able to learn and pick up along the way. So that sort of, I hope I answered a whole series of questions that were on DSA. All right, then may I just sidetrack a little? I think some people were then a bit interested about the applied subjects. Applied subjects may sound interesting. Do I have a quota? Do I have what criteria, and so on and so forth? Let's put it this way. There's always a demand and a supply. All right. Will I have a quota? I think Nimalan and Raven would agree that in most cases, whatever choice that they put, I try our best to give it to them. Okay. Why? Because we believe that if you have the correct passion in that area, you are half a step into success. Right? So we try our best. All I can tell you is we try our best. Right? In certain things, there's constrained by facility. I'm going to highlight, say, biotechnology, for example. Biotech lab can only take that number of students. There's only that number of runs I can afford to run in a day. All right. So therefore, there might be a certain limit. But generally, most students will get their choices. All right. But when demand outweighs supply, then obviously, all right, I will have to honor the academic performance. Right. So we do look at it. But as far as possible, let's put it this way, a majority, a very, very good majority would have been able to get the choice that they want. Okay? And the reason why we work so hard to provide that, because of our belief that with the right passion, with the right interest, they have one step into success. You push somebody into something that they don't like to do, I think it is going to be, the path going forward is going to be very much more challenging. So that's why I wanted to answer these two questions. Back to the question about DSA. Ultimately, it's about finding a good fit, right? Understanding your child. Is the child comfortable in doing performance tasks? There's really a lot of group collaboration that they have to do together. Are these things that they are comfortable in doing? They may not have the skill to that level. That's fine. That's our responsibility to develop it in them. But they must be comfortable. They must be open, all right? And they must desire to do it. A lot of things that we gave are optional, right? The path is there. The choice is yours to make. Will you take the initiative to then register for some of this optional thing? Right? So I hope in answering this whole range of things that will sort of cover better understanding on how we select, and also for you as a parent and child, how would you decide whether SST is a school that you want to put and which is your choice that you want to put there? Okay, I think the other question that I saw was about, is there a cutoff? Right, SST is a pure DSA school. So what is the cutoff? Right, if we gave you a confirmed offer, right, we don't look at your PSLE result, provided you qualify for express stream. Okay, basically, SST offers only the express curriculum. So you must qualify for the express stream for you to be admitted. So we don't look at your PSLE score the moment I give you an offer, but you must meet the express stream cutoff. Okay, so Nimalan, Raven, if you have anything to add, please feel free.
Okay, maybe to facilitate the process, right? I alluded to what Mrs. Chan said about we believe in the students, and when they have a passion, we will provide a lot of opportunities. And talking about opportunities, right? Nimala, maybe perhaps share with us some of the competitions or maybe internship program that you have participated when you were in SSD.
Sure. Actually, when I was in SST, there's a lot of competitions. They are quite open to many students. And during my time in CCA, I participated in the Aero Challenge hosted by Ngee Ann Poly. So over there, we will fly drones through an obstacle course, like make a payload system. These are like some engineering concepts that you will learn throughout the process, and you will be useful when you even after post SST. So during this time, these are some of the competitions that I joined, and we also won that competition. That's where I found my passion in aerospace and want to continue a career in that. And not only that, we also have NTU flagship program and SCTD Discover programs. These are the programs that I've participated, and we also have a lot of collaboration and communication skills that we develop. There's a lot of interpersonal skills that SST will nurture you actually. So it's not just about the skills that you learn, but it's also mostly on the interpersonal skills that will be useful even after post SST. And it doesn't matter which education path that you chose. It can be either Poly or JC. All these skills are definitely useful even after SST or even when you join the workforce as well. These are lifelong skills. So that's why I could.
Oh, fantastic. For the benefit of the viewers, right, in SST, especially the secondary 4, we have this Discover program. It's more attuned towards the career path. So where the secondary 4s will have a taste. So it's like, where, example, they sign up for a science-based course in NTU. And then they work with the professors, they work with the lecturers to solve certain problem. I followed one group. They went to Ngee Ann Poly. It's something to do with publicity, with media, and this group of students actually understand what it means to work in that kind of situation. So this is what I meant by when we talk about giving students the opportunities, and so that they understand what their passion is. When they want to pursue a passion, it doesn't just entail about passion, right? There's a lot of hard work that are behind the scene. Okay, now back to Raven, right? I understand that you went for an internship experience when you were in SST. Can you share more?
Yeah, so during SST, when I was Sec 3 at the end of the year, I received an email that was blasted out the whole school, asking if listing a whole list of opportunities. There were so many opportunities. I was quite surprised about various industry attachments that you could sign up for. And I saw one that quite aligned with something with I saw one about app development, which was quite aligned with what I was interested in at that time. So I decided to sign up for it along with one of my friends. So the both of us got attached to a company called Codigo, and which is a creative agency in Singapore that also did app development. So during my December holidays, we just went over to the company and we sort of did an attachment with them. The project that I did while at the company was quite interesting. We built this little polling app. So it collected polls, POLL polls, it was an internal app for the company. And I dare say it's the most important app because it helped us decide what to eat for lunch every day. Because we were big enough that everyone had different opinions about what they wanted to eat. So it saved us so much time to decide. but yeah, through the experience, I learned a lot. We had an actual project manager assigned to us. We had a designer. We worked with a designer to deliver the best experience to our fellow co-workers at the company. And yeah, overall, it was a very enriching experience, and it definitely gave me a lot of exposure to the work environments of the future. And in fact, I enjoyed it so much that after my O levels, because I joined poly, we start in April, so there's like a January to April gap. Um, I just dropped the founder a message and asked him whether I could do an internship for him, and they obliged. And I brought on two more friends, so four of us had an internship at the company, and again we enjoyed it a lot. So I feel that the like SST provides a lot of opportunities for exposure. And I think as long as you are proactive and curious in taking up these opportunities, there's definitely a lot to learn and there's definitely a lot of fun to be found as well.
Thank you so much. We have quite a fair bit of questions on CCA. In SST, the CCA is not just limited to robotic technology based. We do have sports, and we do have like Gwendolyn in the show choir. So we do have the arts. Maybe I will invite Mrs. Chan to share about SST CCA policy. Okay, because we have students who are interested in different fields. So how do they go about doing it?
Yep.
Mrs.
Okay.
Chan?
Okay. All right. As Johari said, we do have a range of CCAs. Actually, you might want to take a look at our website to get a full range of the CCAs. SST is, after all, not a very big school. Okay, we are quite small as compared to many schools, so there is a limit to the number of CCAs. But I have to say that we still have quite a good range, quite a number of spots. As in all things, right, there's always a bit of a demand supply when they come in, so they do try, we put them through various experiences. We'll give them a few weeks where they will do CCA trials before they decide what type of CCAs that they want. So they get they can do some taster before they decide. And then, of course, again, depending on supply and demand situation, right, there's no point in putting 100 kids into badminton if there's only that number of badminton courts. Right, then the rest of them will be sitting down. So there is a bit of a where we have to manage those numbers. But generally, by and large, I think most kids we will try to give them a few choices, and we will try to give them one of their choices if it is not their first choice. But maybe I again sidetrack, because I think some of them even said that, so can my child DSA through their CCAs? The answer is SST's DSA talent area is on STEAM. All right. So unless that CCA is linked to STEAM, then it is not. Okay. So if you are asking for DSA through badminton, well, we have a DSA through badminton. We don't. All right. But if your CCA happens to be something that is very much related to the STEAM, these are part of the things that we will consider. So maybe back to the question of portfolio, because I think some parents were still clarifying right now that they don't quite understand, is there still a different portfolio that they have to submit? The answer is no. It is only whatever that you need to submit through the MOE DSA centralized portal. In there, results will be automatically ported over. All right, then there will be another segment where you can choose to append various areas that you are in, that is relevant to STEAM application. After all, I said DSA through STEAM is our talent area that we are looking for. So perhaps, some children may have participated in certain robotics competition and they want to highlight that. That could be as one of the attachment in the DSA portal itself. Okay, not a separate portfolio, but attaching some of these documents that highlights your strength and your interest in STEAM area. Those were the information that we will need. Right. So when I say a basket of criteria, we'll look at your results. We'll look at the attachments that you have included. All right, in relation to STEAM talent area. Okay, so that is where I'm coming from. I think that should be more or less than I have seen in the questions with regards to CCA and portfolio. Right, over to you, Joe.
Okay, there's one parent who wants to know. I'm not so sure whether parents are potential students. These questions, I will ask Gwen to answer. What's the life of a day in a FP student like?
As in the hours that we have or the school curriculum that we do every day?
Your personal experience.
So I to be honest, most of the days in SST I would think is pretty much the same as every other school. We still have our lessons, our daily lessons from around 7 a.m. to 2, except that because we have applied subjects, for example, for secondary 3 onward, secondary 3 and secondary 4 students, we have longer days on Tuesdays and Thursdays for applied subjects. For example, if you take biotechnology and you have lab sessions, which will probably go on for a few hours, maybe about 3 hours, so you have a longer lesson. Some of them end about 5:30 or 4:30, if I'm not wrong. And on other days, like Wednesdays, for example, and Fridays, like I have show choir, so on Wednesdays and Fridays, I have CCA until around 5:30 or 6. So the days are relatively long, but you get home for dinner. So it's not that long, and you don't have to stay in school for until into the wee hours of the night, because school will be closed anyways. But yeah, I guess life as a SST student is very fun, because after long days of and tiring days of lessons, we get to do things that we like our applied subjects that we chose, things we are passionate about, and our hobbies. For example, we can dance to de-stress and all that kind of things. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah,
Maybe
I think when I
yes, Raven,
yeah.
yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so when I was back in SST also, there was one period of time where a group of me and a group of friends, like we were taking part in I think it was a youth engineering award, something along those lines. And so we each had our own little projects we were working on. So after school we would go over to the lab, one of the labs, and we would just like sort of work on our own projects, and we did like little experiments. It was quite fun. Like we have access to quite a lot of electronics in the lab as well. So it's a very nostalgic thing to me to think like we just go to the lab, have fun, experiment, work on our own project, play around with a bit more of the components. Some of the experiments were interesting, I would say, yeah. And yeah, and as Gwendolyn said, we will go home in time for dinner. So it was fun time. So yeah.
Okay. One parent asked that with so much focus on applied learning, how do you study for O-level? Get my question? With so much emphasis on applied learning, right, and performance tasks. So how do you prepare for O-level?
So I think as I mentioned previously, like when I did the performance task actually directly ties up in terms of concepts to O-levels. So again, when I was doing my O-levels, like the concepts that I did, like the concepts I learned during performance tasks just keep popping back at me because like they're very memorable. And in terms of applied subjects, I think when I was still in SST, maybe Gwendolyn can share more about now later. But when I was in SST, the applied subjects was an O-level subject. So you are still learning directly what relates to your O-levels. Yeah, for me it was electronics. So we would go down to I think Ngee Ann Poly every week to one day every week to work on our projects as well. And that actually also tied into physics, which was also teaching about I think electricity at that time. So I kind of like learned one subject. I kind of like kill two birds with one stone when learning electronics. So yeah.
Okay, we almost have come to the end of the session. Perhaps what I will ask the panelists is this: maybe one advice or something that you want to share with our viewers, particularly the parents and our young innovators who are thinking whether to enter SST. What will that be? Okay, whoever is ready, you may start.
Okay, maybe I start first. I think for parents and students who are thinking about coming to SST, one of the key things that that you might want to really think about is passion. You heard from our alumni, you heard from our existing students, even for SST Inc. Okay, the leadership opportunities in SST Inc. The things that they learn in coding, all this comes about because of passion. And a lot of it is more of a opt-in. I did not select Nimalan or Raven to come into SST Inc. They opt in. They wanted to try. They wanted to learn something out of it. And with that passion, they have gone a lot further. So I would say that you choose this school because you find that it aligns with your passion. It's something that you want to really discover and dive deep in. Then make this choice.
Thank you, Aurelius. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Nimalan?
Okay. Actually, if you have interest in maths and science since primary school, and if you are doing very well, I think this school will be very suitable, and you have a lot of opportunities here. Like Mr. Yeo said, there's a lot of like opt-in programs that you join in, and then you further develop your learning capabilities. So like talent development programs actually is based on your interests, and SST actually identifies your strengths actually. And based on that, right, based on your passion, they stretch your thinking capabilities. It could be through talent development programs, it could be through CCA, anything that you like to do, be open with it, and I think you get a lot of opportunities. So it's up to you to use those opportunities.
Yeah, I think directly tying into what Nimalan and Mr. Yeo talked about, I feel that curiosity, in my opinion, curiosity is the stepping stone to passion. You must first want to discover more about something before you develop a passion in it. And so a lot of my juniors often approach me with like, how do you develop your passion for technology, for coding, or for example, or for various things? And I feel that the first step would be to be curious about it, to want to learn more about it, and to want to discover what is so interesting about each topic. And how do you get curious about something? Well, if you're not already curious, I often just, like, something might seem really, really boring, like maybe like gardening or something. Sorry to those people who are interested in gardening, but like I would just like ask myself like a question, like questions about it. Just try to come up with questions about the topic that you want to get interested in. So like why is gardening useful? How do plants even grow? Like what is the best way to grow the biggest plant or something? And I think that will create like a spark of curiosity in the topic. And if the topic is right for you, it will eventually lead to passion. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Gwen?
I think I just want to add on mainly to the primary sixes that are coming into SST or who want to come into SST. Just don't be afraid. Don't be scared when you come into here, because a lot of my peers, when we all enter SST, we all thought that SST is going to be a school that's very difficult to cope with your studies and applied learning and everything else. And then there's so many new things that we have not done before, group projects that we have never tried before in primary school. Just don't be scared. Just go and try and have fun, because if you have fun, the things will come naturally to you and you'll enjoy it more. Yeah, that's all.
Right,
okay,
I must
and
have
finally,
the last word.
yes.
Okay,
Yes, Mr. Chan.
so I think the panelists have already more or less framed it, and I really want to say that ultimately, all right, it is knowing yourself. It's knowing yourself. Are you comfortable based on what you hear, the type of learning, the way we do things? All right. Are you just comfortable doing pen and paper and nothing else? If that's the case, then even if you are excellent in math and science, perhaps this is not the right match for you. Right? So the openness, the attitude towards curiosity, the openness, the desire to want to learn is more important. And at the end of it, if you are really interested, actually the long hours do not mean a lot of things. And well, I think all of them said they managed to get home in time for dinner. But I can tell you that's because we forced it upon them because we locked the school. Otherwise, they will be in school because there are many, many things that they can explore and they can learn, right? Different group projects that come about along the way. It could be self-initiated because they're interested in something. They want to have access to the Maker Lab to build certain things, prototype certain things, and then, sign up for various competition. All right. We usually, are quite open in how they go through all these things. So as Gwendolyn said, don't be scared. All right. Opportunities are out there, but you have to go for it. Right? It's there, you choose. And of course, if you choose, you have to commit the time, yes. But basically, we do lock school at 7 o'clock every day. So you can't stay beyond 7 anyway. Would they still have to go home and do their homework? Because I think some of you ask questions like, do they have to study till late at night? I think ultimately, I'm going to say this. It is not the amount of work that we have given that will cause some students to stay up to study until 11. It is when you are not organized or you don't manage your time. All right. And if you don't manage your time, even no matter how little work we gave you, you will be working very hard at 11 o'clock because you procrastinate until the 10th, 11th hour and you started working on it. Well, then even, if after midnight you still cannot finish. So it's not about the duration and the time. It is about having that the skill to learn to manage. Do all kids know how to do that straight? The answer is no. This is something that we will try to work with the children, all right, the kids to be develop those habits on how to prioritize and do some work. But this is again where I will need family to come in. Put in place a routine at home. All right, that routine, right, is very important. My children are big already. But until secondary school, they have to go to bed at 10 o'clock. They have to go to bed at 10 o'clock. Primary school is 9 o'clock. Secondary school, I allowed it to 10 o'clock. Right? But they have to finish what they have to do. So if there is a priority and that has to come first before something else, they have to do it because I'm not extending the time. So ultimately, it is about all these things that teach them how to manage themselves, how to manage the time. Time is limited. It's fixed. All of us has the same pocket of time. So know yourself. And I look forward to welcoming you into SST. Right. On that note, thank you very much for spending time with all of us over your lunch hour. Over to you, Joe.
Okay, thank you so much. As a teacher, I alluded to what you say. It's about time management. Okay, and of course, if you have the tripartite that you mentioned about the partnership between the school, the parents, the home environment, and the students, very, very critical. Not only in SST or rather in any environment. We hope that we have provided an insight from the school leaders as well as from the alumni. I would like to thank our panelists, Mrs. Chan, Mr. Yo, Aurelius, Raven, Nimalan, and of course, Gwendolyn. Okay, for the information of the parents, this is not scripted, so they actually speak from their heart or from their own experience. And we also like to thank our viewers, parents, and the young technologies. Okay, this is just the first session. We have the second sessions on the 28th and the third sessions on the 29th May, 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. We have invited a different set of panels with a different focus. For the 28th May, focus on engineering. And the 29th is very interesting, alternative pathways from the ladies. Okay, so look forward. If you want to know more information, do check our Facebook and do also check the link at the description below. With that, thank you and have a great day. Bye.